Welcome to AETCM, the emergency medicine channel. So, last part we started our ABG interpretation, mixed acid-base disorder, basic acid-base disorder we started. So, first part we discussed regarding what is mean by ABG, why we are doing ABG, and then we seen some normal values and then compensatory mechanism, those are the things. So, in this part 2, I wish to continue with the same, like here we are going to focus on the metabolic disorders. So, metabolic disorder in the sense that is metabolic acidosis and then alkalosis. So, not alone that, we are going to see something called that mixed acidosis alkalosis, how we have to rule out. Okay. So before that, I will draw the flow chart of the metabolic acidosis. So we will see first metabolic acidosis and then second we'll see metabolic alkalosis. In metabolic acidosis, how we have to approach the ABG means. So first I will write the steps and then I will explain you with the ABG each steps how we have to carry out. First thing, in the step 1 you have to see the pH and then PCO2. So we told, right, first see the pH and then PCO2. So to verify this is metabolic related condition, you can go with an HCO3 and then base level also you can check. Okay. Then step 2, you have to check the compensatory mechanism. So whether the body compensated this condition adequately or not. So compensatory you have to check. So where you will check the compensatory? PCO2 level we used to check, right? So respiratory compensation. So this is a metabolic condition. So we will expect the compensation in respiratory system. So we will check the PCO2 level. So third step, you have to see the whether third step mainly for the anion gap. So why we are checking anion gap? To identify the or to rule out the your causes for the metabolic acidosis. So we are going to identify that which one is causing metabolic acidosis. Okay, to rule out that cause or to identify the cause or etiology, we are checking the anion gap. Okay, step 4 is what your delta gap. So why we are checking delta gap? To rule out the mixed metabolic alkalosis is there or not. So this is the condition of metabolic acidosis. So in first presentation we told, so in the case of metabolic acidosis, alkalosis also chances are there. So to rule out that, we are going to check the delta gap. Okay, these are the 4 steps you have to do in the when you are suspecting the person in the metabolic acidosis. So now we'll see step 1. So we'll go one by one. So what is the step 1? So we are taking the ABG. So always you have to remember that 3 steps. So you have to check the, you should know the person's history. Second thing, you should know the any supplemental oxygen or any FiO2. So mechanical ventilator means FiO2. These are the things you have to check. So is this whether we are am I interpreting the correct person's ABG? So right patient also you should keep. So here we took the person in the 4 liter of oxygen nasal fronks, and then this is what the background of the things. Okay. Now we'll see. So here I have a ABG in front of me. So what is the step 1? So step 1 is you have to check the pH and then PCO2 level. So whether it is a metabolic or respiratory. So I am going to check the pH level. So here hope you can able to see pH of 7.306. So what is indicating 7.30 in the sense that is less than 7.35. So automatically we get to know it is a acetemia. Okay. So acetemia because of the less pH. Second thing where we are going to check PCO2 level. So PCO2 level, it is about 35.8. So it is almost near normal or normal value. So normal is somewhat 35 to 45. So here the person have a normal PCO2. So 35.8. So that's why last presentation itself I told. So don't see the so by seeing the normal value, don't fix your mind. So furtherly you have to go for the other values also. So here you can see, but we understood the person in the primary acidosis disorder. Okay, but we ruled out the person doesn't have any respiratory related things. Now we are going to check the HCO3 level. So the HCO3 level of 17.3. So it is decreasing. Am I right? So 22 to 28 is a normal value, but here the person have a base deficit or bicarbonate deficit. The value is getting low. So automatically it is indicating acidosis. So we are correlating everything means the person have a metabolic acidosis. So how we approach you, right? First you see the pH, by that you can fix whether acidosis or alkalosis, and then you are going to check the PCO2 level. So PCO2 mainly maximum it will give a clue. So we told respiratory will be opposite side means both are traveling opposite side means it is indicating respiratory. Both are same direction means it is metabolic. But here it is creating somewhat complication. It is near normal because of the compensatory mechanism. So next we are to confirm the metabolic acidosis. We are going to check the HCO3 level. So clearly the bicarbonate deficit is there. So we are concluding the person have a metabolic acidosis. Still more, if you want to check means you can check the base level also. So in your ABG you can check the base. Base usually it will be mostly -2 to +2. That is the normal range. So if it is going more minus, like here you can see the -7.8. That is clearly indicating there is a base deficit. If it is going more than 2 or you are getting +4, +5 means that is base buildup. Okay, that is indicating metabolic alkalosis. So these are the first step. Second step, what I am going to do? Second step, it is your compensatory mechanism. So compensatory mechanism, so here the body in your acidosis condition. So what the body will do, so it will eliminate more amount of carbon dioxide from your body, thereby the carbonic acid formation will decrease, thereby your body will prevent the further complication or further stress because of the acidosis. So how we have to calculate that compensatory mechanism? There are a lot of formulas we have, but most commonly we are using the Winter's formula. So Winter's formula, the formula is 1.5 into HCO3 plus 8 plus or minus 2. So this is the formula, 1.5 into HCO3 plus 8 plus or minus 2. So here it will give the predicted or expected PCO2 level. Okay, expected PCO2 level. So now we'll calculate 1.5 into HCO3 level of 17.3 plus 8 plus or minus 2. So just a minute. So 1.5 into 17.3, sorry, 17.3 plus 8. So it is 33.95, 33.95 plus 2 or plus or minus 2 in the sense. So you just take the mean value of 34. Okay, 34. So it will be easy for us. So minus 2 in the sense the value should be, the predicted PCO2 should be in the level of 32 to 36. Okay, if the value between the 32 to 36 means you can confirm or you can identify or you can know the person in a correct compensatory mechanism. Okay, here we can check the PCO2 level of 35.8. So it is the value between your 32 to 36. Am I right? So this is the person have a correct compensatory mechanism. Sometimes if the value is going above 36 means that is indicating along with the metabolic acidosis the person have a respiratory acidosis also. Are you getting my point? So if the value is going more than 36 means the expected PCO2 is higher than the PCO2 is higher than the expected PCO2 in the sense there is indicating still the PCO2 build up there in your body. So that is indicating mixed respiratory acidosis also. Clear? So but if the value is going less than 32 means the body is eliminating more amount of carbon dioxide from your body. So that is indicating mixed respiratory alkalosis also. So this is what the compensatory mechanism. So step 1 we check the pH and then PCO2 HCO3 base level. Step 2 we calculated the Winter's formula, means compensatory mechanism. For that we calculated the Winter's formula. So Winter's formula it will give the expected PCO2 level. If the expected PCO2 level is same like your PCO2 level which we are seeing in your ABG paper, it is indicating correct compensatory mechanism. But sometimes if the value is PCO2 level is higher than the expected PCO2 level means that is indicating undercompensated, means still the body have a too much of carbon dioxide. If the value PCO2 level is less than the expected PCO2 in the sense here I am mentioning the which you are getting the Winter's formula. Okay, so the level is low means the body remove the more amount of carbon dioxide from your body, that is overcompensated. There the person will develop the respiratory alkalosis. Okay, this is what the second step. What is our third step? We are going to identify the causes or etiology. For that we are going to check the anion gap. So anion gap, how you will calculate it means maximum in our ABG paper itself we will get anion gap, but for that calculation you just remember sodium. There is a difference between the routinely measured cation minus or routinely measured cation and then routinely measured anion. So it is a difference between the routinely measured cation and then routinely measured anion. Okay, which are the cation we used to routinely measure? Sodium and then your potassium, right? So some of the people they will add potassium, some of them they won't add potassium. Okay, whichever way. Then minus routinely measured anion. Which are the anions we used to routinely measure? Bicarbonate and then your chloride. Am I right? So this is what the way you have to calculate the anion gap. Okay, now as like I told, mostly in your ABG paper itself you will get the anion gap. So with the potassium I told, right, with the potassium also we used to calculate, without potassium also we used to calculate. So what is the thing, how we are going to identify the cause means, so by this you will get one value. So for example, a normal value it will be like 8 to 12. Okay, milliequivalent per liter, 8 to 12. Some books it's giving a reference of 4 to 12 also. Okay. So for this reference we can take as a reference of 4 to 12 milliequivalent per liter. Okay, for our ABG we will take a reference of 4 to 12. So one more thing I can tell, so whichever lab values or whichever values you are going to refer means just always refer your correlate with your lab reference. Okay, that will give a better idea. Okay, each lab there will be some difference will be there, so always it is correlate with your lab reference number also. So here we are going to take a reference of 4 to 12, that is the normal anion gap. So here three categories will create, that is negative anion gap, metabolic acidosis, and then normal anion gap metabolic acidosis, and something called high anion gap metabolic acidosis, HAGMA, NAGMA, and the negative anion gap metabolic acidosis. What are the, so here why we are calculating anion gap? To identify the or to rule out the etiology, right? So what are the causes for the negative anion gap metabolic acidosis? Mainly the cause like unmeasured anion cation differentiation or unmeasured anion cation derangements. So like that we can tell. So what are the unmeasured anions and then cations we have? So if you are not including potassium, means potassium will come here. So that is a condition called hyperkalemia and then hypermagnesemia. Then you can tell the, on the other side you have something called phosphorus also we used to tell. So hypophosphatemia, and then albumin is one of the major important thing. So hypoalbuminemia. So these are the some things, and then these are the something for the negative anion gap metabolic acidosis. So this is mainly indicating the unmeasured anion cation derangements. Okay. Then other thing, that is what is the cause for the normal anion gap metabolic acidosis? Mainly normal anion gap metabolic acidosis will occur in the case of deficit in the bicarbonate. So deficit in the bicarbonate. So when the bicarbonate deficit will happen, so here you can divide into renal and the non-renal causes. So renal, through renal, if there is an proximal renal tubular acidosis or distal renal tubular acidosis, or commonly just remember the renal tubular acidosis condition, this thing can happen. Non-renal cause wise, you can tell the diarrhea is the most important one. It will cause your like your bicarbonate deficit. So that is cause for the NAGMA. And then HAGMA, that is high anion gap metabolic acidosis. So we know we have some familiar mnemonic, most common familiar mnemonic we know, that's cat mud pills. So carbon monoxide poisoning, aminoglycosides, theophylline, most common one is a DKA, diabetic ketoacidosis, lactic acidosis, ethanol, methanol. So all the thing will comes under the HAGMA. Okay. So this is the way you have to calculate the anion gap, mainly anion gap for the to rule out or to identify the cause. Okay. Now we'll come to our ABG. So here, what is the anion gap we have here is an anion gap of 2.6. So what is the normal value? 4 to 12. For our reference, we took 4 to 12, right? So it is 2.6. What is indicating? Negative or low anion gap metabolic acidosis. Am I right? So low anion gap metabolic acidosis or negative anion gap metabolic acidosis, what are the causes we told? There is a negative anion gap means unmeasured anion cation derangements. So here you can see, so unmeasured anion cation, so here we have a value of potassium. So potassium side we told hyperkalemia, hypermagnesemia. So here potassium value of 3.5. So it is normal, near normal, or 3.5 only normal. So there is no hyperkalemia, and then you can check the calcium level. Calcium also you can get the hypercalcemia, also one of the cause. But here the calcium level is 1.19. That is also normal only. And then you can check the your magnesium level. The person's magnesium level is 2.1. So that is also normal. Then we'll come into the other part, that is we told hypophosphatemia, hypomagnesemia. The person's phosphorus level is 3.0. So that is somewhat lower level. Albumin level is 2.5. So ideally you know albumin is a low, very low state because 2.5. So which might, what is causing a negative anion gap metabolic acidosis means hypoalbuminemia is one of the major cause for your negative anion gap metabolic acidosis. So this is the way, that is why we are calculating the anion gap. You got the idea? So here the person cation wise everything is okay, but anion wise there is one derangement. Phosphorus also if you want you can include, but albumin is 2.5. That is the cause for your negative anion gap metabolic acidosis. So that is step 3. What is the step 4? Step 4 is we are going to calculate the delta gap. Delta gap, why we are calculating delta gap? To rule out the mixed alkalosis is there or not, to rule out the mixed alkalosis. So delta gap, how we are going to calculate means, so you have to calculate the delta anion gap divided by delta HCO3 bicarbonate level. So delta in the sense what? It is a difference between two things. Okay, that is the difference between two things, that is called delta. So delta anion gap, how I am going to calculate means, that is the normal or measured anion gap. Measured anion gap in the sense, so what we are getting in your ABG or lab value minus 12. So we are taking the normal level of 12. Okay. Then here HCO3 how we are going to calculate means 24, that is the normal, mean normal, and then minus measured bicarbonate level. Measured bicarbonate in the sense what we are getting in your ABG or lab value. So this is the way you are going to calculate the delta gap. So what the interpretation will come means, if the value is minus 6 to plus 6. Okay, minus 6 to plus 6 means that is indicating high anion gap metabolic acidosis alone. So only it is indicating high anion gap metabolic acidosis. If the value is going more than plus 6 means that is indicating mixed metabolic alkalosis also. Okay, mixed metabolic alkalosis. If the value is going less than minus 6 means that is indicating normal anion gap metabolic acidosis. Clear? So if the value is going more than 6, that is mixed metabolic alkalosis is there. If the value is staying minus 6 to plus 6 means that is indicating high anion gap metabolic acidosis. If the value is less than 6 means that is indicating normal anion gap metabolic acidosis. Clear? Now we'll come to our ABG. So how we are going to calculate? First one, delta anion gap divided by delta HCO3 level. So I told the delta anion gap we are going to calculate in the way of measured minus 12. So measured here is an anion gap will take without potassium 2.6. So 2.6 minus 12 divided by delta HCO3, so 24 minus or HCO3 level is 17.3. Okay, so we'll take the calculator. So 2.6 minus 12, that is 9.4 minus 9.4, then 24 minus 17.3, that is 6.7. Okay, so we are going to calculate once. Minus 9.4 divided by 6.7. So what's the value we are getting here? Minus 1.4. Am I right? Minus 1.4, what is indicating? It is the normal anion gap metabolic acidosis or negative anion gap metabolic acidosis, but it is not in the state of alkalosis. So only our concern is whether metabolic alkalosis is there or not, but the value is only the negative side, so you can simply conclude the person have a metabolic acidosis alone. Clear? So this is what your step 4. So step 1, pH, PCO2, HCO3 base level. Step 2, we calculate the compensatory by Winter's formula. Step 3, we calculated your anion gap. So by that we can understand this is negative anion gap. So something other thing also there, that is a normal anion gap and then high anion gap. So that is for your to identify the etiology, and then finally we calculated the something called delta gap to rule out the mixed alkalosis. Okay, then we'll move on to the second part, that is your metabolic alkalosis. So metabolic alkalosis also the same 4 steps only we are going to follow. First step 1, that is you are going to see the pH and then PCO2 and then HCO3 base level. Step 2, you are going to check the compensatory mechanism. Okay, these are the major steps. And then step 3, we used to anion gap, here we are not going to concentrate. Step 3 on the another one more thing we are going to see here is your mixed metabolic acidosis is there or not. Okay, these are the 3 steps. So first step 1, what we are going to check the pH and then PCO2 level. pH you can check here, it is 7.499. Okay, that is indicating pH is in higher side. Am I right? So normal level 7.45, but the value is going high, so it is indicating alkalemia or alkalosis condition. Now I am going to check whether it is because of respiratory or because of metabolic. So you can see the PCO2 level of 5.54. So here they are kilopascal level is given. So 1 kPa is equal to something around, it will come 7.5 millimeters in mercury. Okay, 7.5 millimeters in mercury. So here 5.54 means, so the value almost it will come 41.5. Okay, 41.5 millimeters in mercury. So here you can correct the value 41.5 millimeters in mercury. So here the normal PCO2 level 35 to 45 millimeters. So here also it is remaining same only. So it remains in the same normal level. Now I am going to check the other levels like bicarbonate level, that is 32.3. What is the normal value? 22 to 28. So it is clearly indicating there is a bicarbonate buildup in your body. So automatically it leads to the metabolic alkalosis condition. Then you can check the base level also, it is 8.4. So what the normal level we told? Minus 2 to plus 2. So again it is increasing, the base level is increasing means again it is indicating metabolic alkalosis or base excess. Okay, clear? So this is the first step. Step 1, I check the pH level, then I check the PCO2, I am not getting a clear clue. So furtherly I ruled out or I check the HCO3 and then base level. So this is step 1. So moving on to the next step, that is compensatory mechanism we have to check. So we are going to check the PCO2 level. There are a lot of formulas are there. Again, there is one familiar formula is expected PCO2 is equal to HCO3 plus 10. Okay, so this is the formula we are going to check. So HCO3 level is 32.3, right? Then plus 10 in the sense it will come the value of 42.3. So the expected PCO2 is 42.3, but in our ABG we are seeing the value of 41.5. What is indicating means, so here interpretation wise, if the PCO2 level is higher than the expected PCO2, that is indicating respiratory acidosis. If the PCO2 level which we are seeing in our ABG is lower than the expected PCO2 means that is indicating respiratory alkalosis. So it is very easy. If the PCO2 level which you are measuring or which you are seeing in your ABG, that is getting higher than the expected PCO2 means what is indicating? So the PCO2 level in the person's body is higher. So it is indicating respiratory acidosis. If it is lower than the expected PCO2 means there is an increased PCO2 wash out from your body. So that is indicating respiratory alkalosis. Here the value is higher or lower? The value is lower. The normal value we told or expected PCO2 we told 42.3, but the value is 41.5. So it is indicating respiratory alkalosis. So the person have a metabolic alkalosis along with respiratory alkalosis also. Clear? So that is step 2. Step 3 is your whether the person have a mixed metabolic acidosis is there or not. For that we are going to only clinically we are going to check whether the person have any DKA or lactic acidosis. Here you can check the lactate level 1.3. So here the person mostly see or he doesn't have any lactic acidosis. Or if the person have a, if you are getting creatinine value, renal failure history is there or renal failure current complaints or if any finding is there means that can leads to the metabolic acidosis also. Clear? So metabolic alkalosis, step 1 check the pH, PCO2 and then HCO3 level. Step 2 you are going to check the compensatory predicted PCO2 or expected PCO2 is equal to HCO3 plus 10. Step 3 you are going to see the whether the mixed acidosis there or not. For that we are going to see the other values like creatinine to rule out the renal failure related things, and then DKA lactic acidosis. For that you can check the lactate level, everything. So this is what your metabolic related disorders. So when we'll meet with you the next thing, that is your respiratory disorder. So until that, do your best. Shalom.